This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to the Great Love Debate, the world's number one dating and relation podcast. Since 2015, I am back here in the very fine studios of Pod Populi, podcast for the people. I am at the one in Boca Raton, Florida, and I know they were supposed to never be time specific on these episodes, but I'm going to bend, not break, bend the rule a bit because the year in which I'm recording this will be referenced in the title of the episode. And if you're listening to this, you almost assuredly saw the title and hopefully got excited about it. But I am recording this literally on New Year's Day. And as U2 sings, all is quiet on New Year's Day. But this also means that we are kicking off the 10th year of doing this podcast. And one of my favorite, and probably your favorite, and honestly a lot of the media's favorite traditions of this show, is that each year we kick things off with a tradition unlike any other, our list of the worst cities in America to find love. So, two things. First of all, I actually did have a fine couple, a guy and a girl, a man and a woman, if you will. They're scheduled to come in and help me break down this list. She's a flight attendant and he's a pilot. Meow. They travel a lot. Different airlines, but they are a couple. They travel a lot. They know the lay of the land, but apparently a Miami Beach New Year's Eve was too much for them, so they couldn't quite rally for New Year's Day. So it's just me and, of course, you guys. So I can handle the assignment, I assure you. Secondly, people have asked me, why do you put the list out at the beginning of the year and not the end? Well, the reason, or at least my reasoning, is simply I want you to be able to plan and adjust accordingly where you might move to or move from or visit or ogle from afar, you name it. I don't want people to listen to a list on Christmas morning and think, oh, so that's why I'm alone this morning. It's because this city sucks. No, you're alone because you made certain choices along the way, and those choices led to this situation, and part of the situation is not recognizing some of the unique challenges that certainly certain locations inherently have. So for the first 8 years of doing this list, the list was comprised almost completely of data and feedback and anecdotes and interviews, et cetera, that I personally collected as I traveled, all over the country doing Great Love Debate live shows. I mean, I did as many as, 200 shows in a year at one point. But last year and the last couple of years, I scaled back the tour so much that I didn't feel like I could give a completely honest and accurate assessment of the love landscape. And I didn't want the list to be comprised of the 6 or 8 places where I spend the most time, because there's a whole lot of suckiness out there that I haven't seen in a while, in places I haven't been in a while. So what we did this year, like we did last year, is we asked you to once again submit your nominees and make your cases. And if they were, well-reasoned enough, even if I don't agree with them, they had a chance to make this very prestigious list. And one note on that, we got a ton of people who submitted their hometowns. And by towns, I mean places that are simply too small. Last year, we said that the qualifier was that the city needed to have an international airport. Well, Bozeman, Montana has an international airport because I guess they fly to Calgary. So I had to be a bit more specific in my criteria. So it basically had to be someplace with a metro population of at least 500,000 people. So as big as someplace like Raleigh or Louisville. And finally, this is for our collective amusement only. Every city is filled with possibilities, and it only takes one. And I'm sure no matter the city, there is definitely one. We're always selling hope around here. So here we go with this batch of hope, with that qualifier. There's still one. So if you're stuck in the city, don't give up hope. It only takes one. But we're going to wrap that hope in this year's 2024 worst cities in America to find love. These are in no particular order. If you are on this list, you probably suck. So all for one and one for all. But kicking it off, we have Jacqueline in San Diego, who submits, coincidentally, San Diego. Brian, a few years ago, you named San Diego the laziest city in America, but that gives it too much credit because it implies, what does it say? Oh, sorry, I can't even read her writing. Okay, there we go. Because it gives it too much credit because it implies that if people would simply make the effort, there would be plenty of options. There are almost no options, at least for someone like me, a professional in her 30s. It's either young frat boys or old wannabe frat boys. Everybody speaks like they're in a Corona commercial. It's bars full of bro hugs and guys hanging around hoping some girl will be desperate enough to make a move. Well, I'm not desperate enough to make a move, but I am desperate enough to move. If things don't change soon, I may just head back to Spokane. At least I used to go on dates there. Okay, Jacqueline. Sorry I screwed your letter up. You are right. San Diego's lack of effort is not just lazy. It's sucky. There are tons of beautiful women in San Diego, and the guys, and I will put this city on the guys, they're just not that interested except to hang. They're too lazy to go beyond the little area around where they live. They're like sharks. I went to an aquarium one time, and I asked why the sharks in the aquarium don't eat all the other fish. And the whatever the version of the zookeeper is at the aquarium, the fish keeper, said they're incredibly lazy. Sharks don't want to chase anything. They want wounded, dead prey, and if they have to go out of their way to get it, they're just not interested. That's a lot like the guys in San Diego. They only go after wounded prey. And Jacqueline, I hope you're not looking at yourself as wounded prey. Apparently you're not. So you may have to move, though I'm not sure going back to Spokane is the answer. But this is a good one. We got quite a few miserable San Diegans, especially the women. The sunshine there and the landscape cures a lot of the city's ills, but not quite the one related to dating. The next one is from Rick from Dallas, Texas. Hi, guys. Brian, you have twice named the women of Dallas as the most dateable group in America, and that's fine, but that doesn't do us guys any good if they don't want to date us. The women here are stuck up. They only want a certain type of guy, and if you aren't that type, you have no shot. They tend to be toxic, superficial, snobby, and only looking for the next best thing. It's an endless cycle that brings the whole dating scene down. Well, Richard, I think you're wrong. I would include it because I got somewhat of a variation on this from a few people. The women of Dallas have big personalities. They have big hair. They have big things. They have big fun, big standards, and they have high expectations. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the men in the Metroplex, as you guys say, are all a lot of hat and no cattle, as the saying goes. We've done a ton of shows in Dallas. I know that city very well. And I guarantee you, I know a lot of big personality guys from the Northeast who would come in there into that same pool of women with confidence and attitude, and they would absolutely kill it. So if you're a guy and you're in Philadelphia, head to Dallas. A lot of choices there. My answer to you, Rick, is I think you got to step up. So I'm not going to disqualify Dallas from the list just because I'm a big personality guy from the Northeast. I will just say that the pool of possibilities are there. I'm not going to expect or ask the women to change. I'm going to say, grow some balls. And if the men in Dallas don't have those, then yeah, that absolutely makes it a lousy environment for love. So I guess DFW, I guess you did make the cut. A lot of men out there are like, I'm just going to lead with my faith. I don't think she's interested in that. I think she wants to know you're a good guy, but I think she wants to know that you're an interesting guy. And so you have to show her some personality. You're going to have to show her some confidence, and you have to show her a lot of those things. You got to match hers because the women in Dallas are hugely confident. And if you're not matching that, it throws the whole energy off, and that throws the whole city off. So that's part of the reason why I'm including this in this list. Dallas, you did make the cut. Speaking of the Northeast, of course, once again, New York City makes this list. I think it's made the list, either 1 through 10 almost every time. So I guess balls aren't the only answer. Melanie writes, there's something off about this place post-COVID. You always used to hear about the hottest new place, the coolest new place, the most interesting thing to do. Now it just feels like we are all stuck here waiting for the vibrancy of a decade ago, that Sex in the City mystique to come back here and make this place feel romantic again. I think that's what's happened here. The mystery is gone, the magic is gone, and the romance is gone. And Sex in the City actually is more like 20 years ago, but I get it. You're not going to get any argument from me, Melanie. I am as hard on New York as anyone. I'm from New York. I can be an honest judge about this. It's never been the best place to date to begin with, but it has definitely gotten worse. Like a lot of places, COVID screwed up a lot of things in the city. It screwed up a lot in the dating ecosystem overall. But New York City, it's lost its confidence. I've made the I don't even call it, it's a joke. It's an observation. Nobody ever leaves New York and moves back. Nobody. Just Jerry Seinfeld. And he's leading a different life than you. People leave there and they're like, oh, wow, it is easier, better, whatever the word you want to use, other places. And I think people in New York realize that now. They've heard anecdotally enough about that. And so many of the daters in New York are wondering, how long am I going to stick it out here? I heard from my friend in Charlotte, says she loves it down there. Maybe I should see what condos cost. And there are tens of thousands of potential daters having these conversations with themselves and each other every single day. And so if you aren't committed to a city, if you aren't committed to a place, and you have 1 foot towards the exit, you're going to be hesitant to get into any relationship or even go on dates. And in dating, he or she who hesitates is single. Next on the list is Jamie from Miami. Could be Jaime from Miami. Could be Jaime. Maybe that's a guess. Could be. Good chance of that. Who knows? Anyway, Brian, I know you have said that silliness is a good thing for a city to be because it puts people in a better mood. But there is a fine line between silly and ridiculous, and Miami has become fucking ridiculous. It's hard to go on a date when every restaurant feels like you're in the middle of a Pitbull video. It's not a serious place with serious people. It's a playpen, which is fine, but I'm 35 and I want to be a parent. I want a playpen for my future kids, not for my possible girlfriend. That is a good point, Jaime, Jamie, right on all of it. Miami used to feel like a Will Smith video back when Will Smith was something to aspire to. Now it does feel like a Pitbull video. And you're like, what's the difference? A lot more champagne. And it is a carnival of distractions. And it is really hard to focus on the task at hand when there's all these distractions. I'm not sure I'm saying you can't get married and settle down there. I'm just saying that Miami is a ride that is really tough to not get motion sickness from. It's tough to date when you feel that way. Next one is from PJ from Atlanta. I'll assume PJ is a woman, not because she complains about the guys, but because her issues with her fellow females. She writes, and we got a lot of these in one form or another. PJ writes, this city is so filled with desperate girls practically throwing themselves at any guy with a neatly pressed shirt and a 2022 or newer car. I don't even blame the guys. I would probably be the same way. Why not just grab at the lowest hanging fruit if the lowest hanging fruit is stuck right in front of your face? Ladies, you can say we shouldn't lower the bar, but we have lowered the bar. This weird rush to grab a guy before entering our 30s doesn't say much before our gender or any strides we have made as a society. That is a good point, PJ. And I've made this point before. The southern cities, the major ones, I brought up Charlotte before. No matter how much this generation of we are strong, independent women narrative gets play, there is still this feeling in the South in 2024. If you get married and you get divorced at 30, the marriage failed. But if you get to 30 and you didn't get married, you failed. And that seems insane to a lot of us, but that's still a societal and familial permeation in the culture. And I think it's as accurate today as it's ever been. Atlanta's great. It's awesome. There's so much going on. It looks good. The place is booming. There's vibrant neighborhoods. I love Atlanta, but PJ is right. The guys don't have to do much because the women do too much. Throws the whole balance off. And balance is everything in dating. And also for this list, we need balance. There are 5 down, 5 to go. We are taking on America's Worst Cities to Find Love 2024 edition. We have to take a quick break. We will be back right after this. And we are back. And so far, we have taken up, depending on your perspective, San Diego, Dallas, New York, Miami, Atlanta. The next one from Michael in San Francisco. I know you put the Bay Area on your list before, and usually it's because of the overt feminist streak that runs through this city like a tsunami at all times. Wow. But there still used to be a part of San Francisco that was quaint and had charm and could feel romantic, even if you were just taking a walk together and getting to know each other. Well, every step now costs an absolute fortune, and every step now feels a little unsafe or a lot unsafe, and those pockets of opportunities have mostly shut down, and the dating itself has become as hard as even finding someone to go on a date with. Michael, I agree. I've always said at its best, San Francisco is one of the most amazing cities, not just in America, but in the world. But that place is so far from its best right now. Yes, the independent woman thing is out of hand there, but also it's outrageously expensive. A lot of the soul of the city is gone, and let's just meet and get to know each other, that feels really far away there now. So San Francisco is a very rare case where a city makes our list for a completely different reason than previously. I don't even know the answer to this one. Somebody wrote us like a scathing review, which I still love to get, saying that these lists are too skewed unfavorably against so-called blue cities. We talked about Dallas earlier. Dallas isn't a blue city, nor is Atlanta, nor are a few others to come. It's pretty even. But the worst policies of some of the major markets absolutely negatively impact day-to-day life, which absolutely impacts day-to-day dating. So what do you want me to tell you? Next one. Here's a pretty red city for you. This is from Colleen in Orlando. Lots of cities feel like they have a right area to be in. This place feels like nothing but wrong areas. I don't mean that in a dangerous crime way or anything. I mean that I moved here from upstate New York and thought that sunny Florida would make for a vibrant dating scene. This place is a bunch of tourists and people in gated communities that all look alike. I don't know if that means that people look alike or the gated communities all look alike. I never feel like I'm in the right place with the right kind of people, and I have no idea how to go about finding the right guy. There are 10 million bars and restaurants, and they all just feel like some version of a chain neighborhood grill. There's no personality there, and there's no personality here. Oh, so there's no personality in the neighborhood grills, and there's no personality here. She doesn't like fancy like Applebee's, apparently. But it's a good point, Colleen, and it's a good word, personality. We mentioned Miami. Miami, at least good or bad, has personality. Orlando, and I've been there a bunch, it has none. It just doesn't. It's still very Disney dominant, but it's sprawling. And every time I go to Orlando, and then you hear it's booming, and a lot of people with a lot of resources live there, I'm like, why would anyone live here? It's boiling hot. There's no beach. There's no character. And no character means there's no interesting characters, and you want to date an interesting character. You want to be around interesting characters. You've heard me say many times that I love a good mall. Orlando's the opposite. It's not even a bad mall. It's like a bad food court at a bad mall. It's definitely on this list. This might be the first time that it's made this list. That's a good one. Orlando is on the list. Next one. I just took a job at the Cleveland Clinic, which is a great hospital and research system, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. But I've never seen so many unhealthy people in my life, and I'm not just talking about fitness, I'm talking about attitude. People seem miserable, capitalized, here all the time. I might go weeks without seeing so much as a smile. I moved here from Providence, and sure, New England can be gloomy, but this just flat out seems unhappy. It's hard to date unhappy. when the New England people think you're unhappy. But that's a really good point. And I go to Cleveland quite a bit. I have a couple of podcast studios there. And you're right. And I've been a huge Cleveland supporter for a long, long time. I always just thought Cleveland had a bad publicist, and they allowed the jokes about Cleveland to permeate the attitude about it. But that doesn't excuse the inhabitants. It has all the great makings of an awesome Midwestern city, and you mentioned Cleveland Clinic, top notch. But the last 3 years, I think the entire city gained 30 pounds and realized that they hate whoever they're with. You see unhappy married people, you see unhappy couples. And if your social scene revolves pretty much around 17 Sundays of Browns games, that's not a good recipe for dating. Because even if she's a fan, and she probably is, she doesn't look great in brown. Nobody does. And don't they have a Sephora there? Like, do they know how to wear a little makeup and put a little effort out? Sorry, ladies of Cleveland. Just both sides of it. You got to get it together. You are definitely on this list. 2 more. This is from Sierra. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather, so it's a little blurry to me. This is from Sierra from Houston. Speaking of unhealthy cities, I made the joke that Houston feels like diabetes and smells like a tire fire. And I got a lot of crap for saying it, not for thinking it, because it's true, but for saying it. Anyway, Sierra writes, things are bad when we look at San Antonio as a cooler place to go out. This place has the least interesting guys, the worst looking guys, the blandest food, the most boring culture, and a shitty public school system, the worst in the state. None of that is a breeding ground for dating, much less breeding. I've lived here my whole life, never thought I would leave, but now I do nothing but think about getting out of here. So, Sierra, stop thinking about it, do it. Part of that is your own mindset. A lot of these, no matter how bad the city is if it's all you think about, not only are you putting the blame on the city, you're not taking any steps to fix it. Houston is definitely not great in a lot of ways. You're already fighting an uphill battle. But if all you think about is the bad, then it's going to be hard to find the good. And if you've lived there your whole life, which you say you have no idea what you might like different or find better. And San Antonio is not way different or much better. So my answer, easy answer, possibly the lazy answer, is move. That might be the real answer, but send us some options. Email us some options, and we'll give you some thoughts, and maybe we'll let the audience vote on these. But I think you just need to move. You're too far gone. You hate them. You hate your lover too much, so you're going to have to get out of Houston. The last one, this one is from Emmy, like the award, Emmy from Nashville. Everyone loves Nashville, and yes, I love Nashville. I don't mind all the people moving here from everywhere trying to latch on to the next big thing like they did with Austin. I grew up in Chattanooga, so not too far, and I am a Tennessee girl, but Nashville has lost what it means to be Tennessee. The charm is gone, and it's not all about fun, and I'm not saying that, and it's all about fun. I'm not saying that fun isn't good, not at all, but dating has to be about connection, not beer chugging or axe throwing or line dancing. It has to be about me and him, and I simply can't find the me and him here. Good mention of Austin. Very similar. It's really, really hard to get off the ride when there's so much pressure from the FOMO. You don't want to miss out on anything. One more night, one more weekend. Do you really want to say that this is my last, fun weekend? It's time to move to the suburbs and settle down. And I'm not saying you can't have fun being in a relationship or married or everything, but there's a little bit of that. Nashville always has one more night and one more weekend and one more event and one more concert, which is an amazing place to visit. And it's an amazing place to live post-college. And it's amazing in your 20s. It becomes hugely distracting in your 30s and beyond, and a nightmare post-divorce when everyone is out there trying to recapture what they think they missed out on and probably getting bad tattoos. So, yeah, we all love Nashville. And it's the number one place for bachelorette parties. But if you want to be a bachelorette or bride-to-be, I'm not sure that journey begins in the music city. So, c'est la vie, and that's the list. That's a pretty good list. Those are pretty good The only one I quibble with a little bit was Dallas, but then when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I get it. If the guys have no balls, it does suck to date. Shoot us an email. Again, greatlovedebate@gmail.com. If you have any disagreements or ones that you really think we missed, maybe we'll do an addendum when the pilot and flight attendant come back in here. But I really like doing that. These always tend to get a lot of buzz. A lot of people get really mad when their city is not on the list because it means that they're living in a place that isn't so bad. And any city you're in, if you're living there, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. So focus on that. It's never that you haven't met the right person. It's almost always that you haven't been the right person. Let's just take ownership of all of it. A lot of this is for fun and enjoyment, but there are some valid points here, and we do agree with them. Certain places are more challenging and uniquely challenged than others. Go to greatlovedebate.com. Our 11th season, 10th anniversary show, however you want to look at it. The tickets are on sale right here in Boca Raton at the Boca Black Box Center for the Arts. Go to bocablackbox.com or greatlovedebate.com for tickets. And even now in our 10th year, your reviews mean so much in the podcasting ecosystem. So please please share, like, follow, and review this podcast. We appreciate it because, as always, at The Great Love Debate, we never stop making love. See you next time.